Yeah, hello! What's good, everybody? Welcome to the one and only Karasu, General of the Revolutionary Army guide. He's north, south. I believe he's north. Anyways, let's get into it. Homeboy is pretty solid unit in the current meta. He does have his weaknesses. We're going to go over those. We're going to go over any and everything you have. Now, if you have not familiarized yourself with his stats or his skills, I would go ahead and do so in the game. You can go look at your locked characters and find out that there. But anyways, let's dive in and start taking a look at our stat build. First things first, you're going to want to build HP defense. Really, you have no use for attack. The reason being is all of your kit is completely based off percentage damage. You're a multi-hitter. You do extra percentage damage once you hit a certain amount of times, as well as your skill 1 does pure percentage damage. So your skill 2 is really the only thing that's not utilizing percentage damage, and you can capitalize off that, which is just fine. And your skill 2 is more so used for utility and not even damage in the first place. So really, there's no need for attack on this character. Rarely would attack probably be more useful than building defense. You generally will want HP for sure, given it is a defense buff ignoring meta and defense ignoring meta. So generally max out HP, have the defense on the side. I think that will carry you through the future. Once we exit this meta, it'll help you out significantly. So in general, capitalize HP defense. Remember, attack if you want to, you could go HP attack. I don't particularly recommend it because it's not going to be that useful for you given you are percentage damage based. So anyways, focus on that. HP defense, lock that down. Alright, next up, let's talk about his pros. What makes Karasu good and what strengths does he have going for him? First things first is he's actually pretty solid in the meta. He's a defense buff. He thrives off people having defense buffs. So if people have defense buffs, he heals. He gets, like, it works best for him. So it allows his survivability to last, like, much longer. So you have Gear 5, you have Claw, you have King V1 is still being played even after a year, and he's actually still going strong. So there's a lot of units who get small little defense buffs, even if they're only, like, for 20 seconds, it still helps Karasu out significantly. So things like that actually help him like thrive in the meta. Now we'll get to fighting people without defense buffs in a little bit, but that's kind of generally like his first go-to and what his main purpose is as a character. Next up is his percentage damage. Percentage damage is almost always good because you're almost always going to be guaranteed damage. Now there are specific units that don't get countered and don't get destroyed by percentage damage. We'll get into that later as well, but in general it'll allow you to melt really big tanks. Even no matter how much defense, no matter how much damage reduction, it won't matter in the face of Karasu because he has the percentage damage that based off his skill 1 does about like the numbers are kind of wonky because I'm not sure if it entails his traits or not, because that can add it, so it can do like 60%. It varies based off the amount of times your skill actually hits with that skill 1. So keep an eye out for that. They do stack. Alright, next is your attack debuff. When you hit a certain amount of times with your basic attacks, you actually debuff their attack by, I believe, 50%, which is actually disgusting. So doing that, it is for a short period of time. It is only for about 5 seconds, but that will prevent people from actually doing damage to you and enabling you to kind of keep yourself alive and not die right away if you're fighting someone with a huge amount of attack. So something to keep an eye out for. It's phenomenal. It is 50% for 5 seconds, just validating that. So make sure you do switch between using your full basic attacks and your press and hold basic attack, because your press and hold is only like 1 hit. So keep an eye out for that. And it is just kind of like a little floaty cloud of crows that goes and hits them and smacks them for 50% HP. So keep an eye out for that. The next one is you have multiple sources to attack. So like you have your regular basic attacks, you have your press and hold basic attack that can kind of just mess with the enemy, because your press and hold basic attack is much slower. So you have that, and your skill 1 doesn't go off right away. It won't start doing damage right away. It kind of has a little bit of a delay before the crows actually start reaching the enemy. So you can kind of mess with them and mess with their dodge in order to get that out, which can work in your favor. You just have to play it right and play it smart with that. The next thing is you are ranged. So having range can be a really big asset. It's kind of less so in this game, but depending on if your team's there to assist you or kind of stand in front of you, being ranged will actually be really, really annoying for the enemy team. And it also, if you're fighting on Fishman Island, you'll see in some of these games that you actually can go and hit people down below, which comes in clutch. The last one is you are movable while auto attacking. You don't have to stop in one place to sit there and press your auto attacks. It doesn't prevent you. It doesn't limit your movements. You can just keep moving. So if you have people chasing you, have people following you, can just keep moving and running away, which will help you get out of a emergency situation if you need to. Next up, let's talk about your cons. What's kind of your weaknesses as Karasu? I'll be honest, if someone decides they do want to focus you down, particularly people who are a little bit faster, so you do have someone like Shanks, generally, if he doesn't have his defense buff, he can play it smart and not get his defense buff, so he can actually like wreck Karasu. Gear 5s, even though you're meant to counter Gear 5, he actually can play against you if he plays it right and plays it smart. He generally won't have too much trouble, so just watch out for people who focus you down. If you can hover around your teammates or kind of hide behind them, as weaselly as it sounds, it's probably going to work in your favor. So you can do that as well. You will end up kind of being very annoying and doing damage. And remember, you are a runner, so just don't forget to actually go and cap flags. Remember, don't catch yourself playing defender or just sitting back while you're not actually getting any flags taken. So 1v1s are a little more tricky, but you can do them and make them work. Next point, which kind of dives into this, when you do take a flag, you're really not that good at defending. So if you're fighting a claw, if you're fighting Gear 5 is usually easier because you are fully meant to defend against him, or fight against him. But when you're fighting claw, he can just walk up and take the flag, and generally you can't kill super quickly. You're not a fast killer, you're a DPS, so a little damage over time, a little damage per second. You're not really a burst, and you're not a little one-shot burst action. So getting claw, if you're flag isn't the easiest. You do have your skill 2 to knock them back, but it doesn't do very much damage because you're not really going to be building damage. So just watch out for that. Don't catch yourself trying to protect flags unless it's obviously like the last like 10 seconds of the game. The next one is, even with defense, you still aren't always super tanky. For some reason, I don't know what it is about Karasu, I still feel like you just like your survivability is really not fully there. You have actually a good chunk of heals, but it doesn't feel like you have a good chunk of heals, probably because your skills are generally pretty easy to dodge, I'm not going to lie. So watch out for that. Be careful with how you use your skills and try to avoid giving enemies perfect dodges. The next one is your skill 2 can be useful, but for the most part, it's really not. Like, you almost always have it up. It's actually really short cooldown. It allows you to get away and reposition yourself, so if you're smart with it, you can use it like that. But in general, you always catch yourself with your skill 2 up and you're just like, how can I use this right now? Because you don't want to go flying at your enemy. Because when you're fighting people, you don't want to put yourself in melee range with them. It's just not going to work in your favor. Generally, hold your skill 2, use it as an escape. That's its best purpose for it, I'll be honest. So using it for damage is not generally that wise, unless like someone's right on top of your punani and you just need to get out. So just swing through them and you'll get out of there pretty easily. Next up is when nobody has a defense buff, you actually can, it's pretty noticeable. They have been building these niche characters in Bounty Rush for some reason, and it actually kind of hurts feeling how much you do less when you actually don't have a defense buff attacker, like a defense buff person to attack. So you don't get the heals. It feels gross, and especially if people are immune to percentage damage, then it hurts even more. So just watch out for that. Alright, next up, let's talk about the characters you counter. Again, as if you haven't caught on by now, you kind of fight against people with defense buffs. You're really not a counter specifically to anyone. I wouldn't say there's any unit who gets absolutely destroyed by Karasu if they play it right. Even Gear 5 can do alright against Karasu if he's just not being dumb. Now, a lot of Luffys are dumb, but it just depends on the player. I really think it's matchup based. But for the most part, you're just generally good, but you're not really great against any specific unit. Alright, next let's talk about the counters to you. Who do you need to worry about? Anyone who's immune to percentage damage is your main problem. EX Zoro is problematic. He doesn't get defense buff. He's immune to percentage damage. He'll run you down. He's already red, so he has color advantage. He's anti-stagger against you. It's going to be very annoying. So just watch out for EX Zoro. He's probably your biggest problem. He can get a defense buff, which will help you. But in general, like, he does not have it against you, because I believe he has a color change. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, chat. But I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if I am wrong. But I do believe Zoro's just going to be problematic mostly for you. Good thing he's not too abundant anymore. So he can be, but for the most part, the Zoros aren't like absolutely everywhere. And in general, all percentage damage. You have Yamato, Blue Luffy, Zoro, etc. There's a couple of units out there. You just got to retrace and figure out which ones have the immunity to percentage damage, and you'll kind of figure it out. There's Sugar as well. So just be careful with that. Alright, lastly, let's get into the metal recommendations, things that I would build on him. Honestly, I think the Kaido set, it's really kind of annoying that I feel like I always say Kaido set for a lot of characters, but it works so well. And skill 1 is your bread and butter and your main damage skill, so I strongly recommend getting cooldown that. So what does skill 1 or Kaido set do for you? It gives you all skill 1. You get skill 1 cooldown on cap speed for hybrid Kaido. You get you can probably replace the blue Kaido because you don't need the damage increase on your own flag. Damage increase is generally useless on you. So I would replace that for a different Kaido medal or a different piece part if you really want to. It depends on you and how much you value tags. I really like the full tags. And then you have the other Kaido medal, which gives you 2% cooldown whenever you're hit. So you'll get extra skill 1 cooldown when you're getting attacked, which will kind of bring that up faster. So it's really, really nice. I really think the Kaido set where it works well with Karasu and is really solid set for that in general overall, and probably the best metal set in the game. Next one, Probably the capture speed Dressrosa, because Karasu's capture speed is actually kind of trash. It is there, but it's not there when it's below like 50%, so just be careful with that. Karasu is a runner, but he really does not feel like a runner most of the games, I'll be honest. Next one, Boa Hancock set is generally really solid. I would recommend that one. Gives you lots of skill 1 cooldown, and it's kind of passive skill 1 cooldown, so it works really well for you. So if you just get those flags, you'll get the extra cooldown, you get the lead, you'll be golden. You're also able to just keep moving around. Your skill 2 is almost always going to be up, so things you need to prioritize in your medals are just going to be damage reduction, cap speed, and skill 1 cooldown. That when you're building a set, like if these sets don't fit you or you're not able to access these, I would prioritize those stats. Let me say it again, that is skill 1 cooldown, damage reduction, as well as cap speed. So those are the most important for you as a player. I strongly recommend those. But anyways, that is my full Karasu kind of guide and outline. Let me know what you guys think down below. If I missed anything, make sure to hit it. I will try and pin a comment if I miss anything or feel like anything is incorrect. So that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe. I'm opbr, and I'm going to be taking off. Yeah, peace, beautiful people.